Hey everyone, and today we're talking about running a successful open innovation program. Welcome to Invincible Innovation Live Show. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Mazor, Kario, innovation and value creation expert, and I'll be your host. And today with me I have Lior Weizman.
Hi,
Hi
everyone.
Lior.
Hi.
Lior is the director of SAP IO Foundry Tel-Aviv. Great to see you here. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're much invited to join the discussion and ask questions. We'd love to hear what you think. So, Lior, we can start. So, why is it so difficult for corporates to innovate?
Okay, so first of all, corporates are very big, and in most cases, corporates are developing solutions for other big companies. Usually, we're talking about very complex core systems that run the core application for clients. And doing innovation in those systems is something that requires a lot of responsibility. It's not something that we can just try and do like a startup in the first early days. We also have global activities and we have many clients, so we need to be very responsible on how we do innovation. And also corporates usually have many options to do innovation. We can do R&D, develop ourselves internally, externally, cooperate with startups, to acquire, to invest. So you can understand it's not that easy to do innovation. It's not just the simple word innovation.
Yeah. But it seems that if you're such a big company, you have the abilities, the resources to decide what is best for you. So you have an advantage in that sense, although sometimes it's more complex.
Of course, of course. And obviously we do a lot of innovation. It's a complex activity. And this is usually why you see full innovation groups of usually dozens of people in the global level in those large corporates, because it's important to do that, but it's complicated.
Can you say like a few words about SAP IO? So what exactly are you doing?
So SAP is a software company. We do business application. We are the largest business application company in the world. And we usually give our clients something like 80% of what they need in their core application. And we always need to give them also the ability to consume this additional 20%, which you can call innovation, through SAP. And we do that by partnering with early stage companies, startups, ISVs, that we create joint integration with them to allow our clients to consume functionality, those additional 20% from SAP with the joint development of startups.
I see. So why is external innovation so important for corporate innovation?
So first of all, because what I just said, it's complicated, but we have to do that because we want to grow. We want, to bring our clients those additional needs, and our clients' needs are keep changing and evolving with time. And if we are not going to do that, obviously our competition will do that. So because our systems are so critical, we're talking about core systems for those for those companies, we can't do everything ourselves. So obviously we go outside to those early stage companies, because we need to search outside, and we call it external innovation, obviously.
Yeah, it really makes sense. Even if you're so big, you still have the option to give more and to enable more your clients, more possibilities, more offers and services. So it really makes sense. So what's the model for successful innovation for your solutions, collaborations, and startups?
So you see corporates pretty much implementing the same, core tactics. You can definitely point out those core tactics of innovation. And I will try to outline them from the point of view of corporates, okay? So we said we are doing innovation because we want to keep our clients' needs answered. So if you take those needs and divide them to groups, you can look at those strategic needs of the clients, those that we will need to answer for the long term. This is the core of the company. Those are the big solutions that we want to give our clients, and those solutions will be developed in-house, what you can call R&D, or innovate, or internal labs, or entrepreneurship. You know, we also develop our own internal startups. So this is to answer the strategic long-term needs. In addition, you can also look at strategic but futuristic needs, something that the market will need few years from now, maybe 5 or 6 years from now. And for that, we invest. We invest in early stage startups because we want to keep our involvement in those areas, but not necessarily to develop them right now ourselves. Another group of needs is the strategic needs, but those that we need right now, immediate needs that are coming from the market. And to answer those needs, we usually acquire, or M&A, you know, we acquire companies as well. And then we get the answer for those needs right now. So SAP, like any other large corporates, we acquire company all the time. The last acquisition was, I think, a month ago. And by the way, the founder of this acquisition was an Israeli person. So we have something to be proud of.
Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of, I guess.
Yeah. The last group of needs, and this is where my team and SAP IO is coming to the picture, is those non-core, not very strategic needs that are coming from the market. Those needs that are industry specific, we don't see them widespread globally yet, and we can answer those needs by partner with local relatively small startup companies to answer those needs with partnership. And you can see accelerators and innovation labs and scouting teams within corporates that are answering those needs.
Yeah. So actually, you're taking your strategy and you're dividing your goals as a company, and you're answering them differently with different processes and different solutions. So these companies that you think that they might be the future of some of your clients, or the needs of the domains and the industries that your clients are in, these are the ones that you take into your accelerator, right?
Yeah, obviously we don't run an accelerator just for the sake of running an accelerator. You can see such operation, by the way, Techstars and Mass Challenge. Those are organizations that run accelerators for running an accelerator. We are running an accelerator to solve white space within our client needs that we don't have an intention to develop ourselves. We need it right now, so investment is too slow. It's not something we're going to acquire, so we want to partner. And, you know, if you want to partner with technology companies today, usually SAP will partner with smaller players in most cases, and you can call them startups.
Yeah. And these startups, you help them get closer to your clients, so give them a more live feedback, design partners and such. So you provide them the connection actually to their clients.
Of course. It's and not only we. If you look at the corporate accelerators out there, and I worked for a few, and I also managed the IBM corporate accelerator here in Israel. So you see, it's all coming from the same point of view. We want to help startups, but the number one goal is to solve problems for our clients, to sell more, to sell jointly with those startups. So engagement with the client is the first thing we want to get out of this program. We obviously want to help, we want to mentor, and we want to help those startups to be better and go global. But the number one KPI of our team is to go to clients and sell those joint solutions, those new things that we can now offer the market.
Yeah, I totally understand. I worked with IBM for lots of projects and many time, and I know that maybe their core power is they have so many clients in so many domains in so many industries, and they could really utilize that, to make more profit and to make more of it.
Yeah.
So the same goes for SAP.
And an interesting thing to notice right now, post-COVID is the positioning of those corporate accelerators in the innovation, in the ecosystem of startups, because now we are a very good go-to-market channel to global clients. In the past, you could get to those clients without those corporate accelerators by going to conferences and simply go and meet them. But today it's much more challenging. And SAP, IBM, and those large corporates of the world, they are still, managing large base of clients. So it's very smart to utilize the local innovation activities in each country.
Yeah, I think that in general, sales is much more complex when you cannot really meet people, not one-on-one, not in conventions and events. So it's harder, especially if you're a small team and you want to reach several clients. It's really hard right now. And I think there's something in events that is so like you meet people in person and they meet you and you have this connection. And online in COVID, everything is online. It's much harder to do. And it's interesting to see if it will stay this way or these sales teams will continue flying afterwards.
And it's another, extra point to those startups that are cooperating with large corporates, because you are giving your client a sense of confidence when you are coming with a partnership with SAP or with Microsoft or Google or whatever, because the client knows someone already tested them, someone saw that the solution is working and even signed a partnership and selected this company to attend the program. So it's another, it's again, I keep repeating it, but I feel, at least from my point of view, that COVID did quite some good things to innovation centers and accelerators, corporate.
Yeah. It's leveraging your clients and your brand, because if you're coming with SAP that have this kind of trustworthy brand, you say, okay, I trust them to do lots of very core capabilities for my company. Why wouldn't I trust them if they say this startup is really good? So I trust them on that too. And they have the salespeople to do that. So the connections are so important. And the connection that they have done before COVID, they're still leveraging that right now. But afterwards, if they need a new connection, it will be challenging for everyone, I guess. Yeah. So if we're talking about COVID, so how do you see innovation affected by COVID? We discussed some of it. So what do you think will be afterwards?
Yeah, so I think I told you before we started the live show that, I think that many things that we implemented during COVID will stay. One of them is the way we work now virtually. I can give small example of what we do at SAP IO. We have 9 teams around the world. One of them is in Tel Aviv, in Israel. And we are not different than other corporates that are, holding several innovation teams around the world, mainly in those locations where you can find a lot of innovation, many startups, obviously Tel Aviv, Silicon Valley, Singapore, Berlin, etc. And before COVID, the common sense was that we are scouting locally because we are here in one of the largest ecosystem of the world, and we need to focus on working with Israeli startups for my team. Once we started COVID, we at SAP IO actually changed the way we work quite fast. And we started to focus on topics, on themes. We are working with each group is working with different units within SAP, and each group is scouting globally. So we are not anymore just focusing on the Israeli market. We can now scout globally. Now, you can look at that from, you can say it's bad for the Israeli startups, but, other people are now scouting for Israeli startups as well, also outside of Israel. And for the Israeli, point of view, Israeli really good in implementing innovation. So I think that more and more corporates will use Israeli teams that knows how to embed innovation into corporates, but to scout globally, not only in Israel.
Why do you think Israelis are better at innovating? So I had Benny Schlick with me a few episodes ago, and we talked about it. So how do you see it?
First of all, we are not the typical corporate people. You see, t-shirts. I'm not a typical corporate person, but I am working for corporates for almost 15 years, or maybe more than 15 years. And Israeli have this sense of, executing. Maybe because we've been into the army, we look at the mission and we need to execute it. And innovation is being implemented, I think, faster. We're not that strict to those corporate rules, but in a good way. So Israeli definitely know how to play both sides, both the startups and the corporate, but to facilitate everything a bit faster.
Yeah,
but I'm not objective. So.
Yeah, I'm not too. It's just, it's interesting what you're saying, because working in a corporate, you need to play by the rules of the corporate on one side. But if you want to innovate, you're kind of separated in a sense, and you need to do things differently.
Yeah, but if you think about it, almost every Israeli, at the age of 18, is going to serve one of the largest corporates in the world, which is the Israeli Defense Force. It's four times bigger than SAP, the Israel Defense Force. Yeah. So if you think at the age of 18, in my case, I was an officer, and I was an officer, quite equivalent to a director, what I'm doing now for SAP, and I was only 18, so I worked for a corporate.
Yeah, I never thought about IDF as a corporate, but it's surely hierarchical. That's for sure, and you need to understand the rules. That's for sure. So it's like two things that are really equivalent.
And you need to execute very fast because you have life-death situation in many cases. So, it definitely changes when you go out to the private corporate.
Yeah, I think it's related. I talked to Dov Moran about it too, and I think it's related to the fact that we always try to find a way to do things better, to do things different, to do even standing in line. We always have ways to go to other direction. We never go in this is something that was tested. There is a line. Everybody is going through this line where they're standing, and in Israel it never works, right? So. And you don't need to come from tech in order to do so.
Yeah, maybe some people will argue if it's better, but
it's not better, but it's different.
Yeah, we definitely don't hesitate to do things different.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think that doing innovation demands, I wouldn't say creative thinking, but I would say a different way of thinking. Because if you're in corporate and you're playing by the rules of all the time, and you're not thinking differently, you will not get to anything new, right? So
right.
So we need to do that. So it's good to hear that COVID has these good coincidences for Israelis and for the world in general, because so many people are focusing on these harsh sides of the economic and the health issues and so forth, but it's going to change for sure. Lots of markets and clients' needs and companies in the end, and it will demand people to change, although they don't want to. Most people don't want to change, right?
And I think that Israel will recover quite fast and even stronger than other countries, because I don't know. I know that maybe I will be totally wrong, but I think more and more people are now getting skills that are relevant to the post-COVID, reality. And I think Israel will be even stronger from tech point of view 2 years from now. Yeah.
So you think many people are learning tech capabilities and skills right now? This is how you see it?
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it from the side, things that I see on social networks, obviously. That's we are all close at our offices, so that's the only way I to see, but that's what I sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you just told me before we started that you're alone in this
Yeah.
floor, all alone. Mainly,
Yeah.
like nine groups needs to be there, and you're all alone there.
Yeah. Sounds sad, but that's true.
No, you can have your own party in this really large space there. So
Yeah. I'm planning
it
a
could be,
party afterwards. So.
yeah, sounds fun. So, what is the one lesson you learned and you can share with entrepreneurs when they're trying to partner with these larger corporates?
Yeah. So there are many lessons learned for startups when they work with corporates, but I think I will share three that are related to one another. One is that many corporates today have innovation activities, innovation teams, partnerships teams, etc. So if you, as an entrepreneur, you are wandering between corporate A and corporate B, and one of them is running an innovation activity, an external innovation activity like the one I mentioned, whether it's innovation or partnerships or accelerator or an innovation lab, go to that one and talk to the people that are doing innovation, not necessarily the one person on LinkedIn that is doing I don't know what product development. Go to the innovation people because they have a KPI to engage with entrepreneurs like yourself, so the chances of success are going to be higher. And the last thing is that you always need to keep in mind what's the KPI of that person in that corporate. What are they measured on? Because startups are coming with their point of view. They want to sell, they want to partner. But if they stop and think for a second, or even asking the person on the other side, what's your goal? What are you measured on? Things are going to be much more successful, because the one good thing about corporates is that everything is clear. People know what they are measured on, what's their mission. And usually they will be focused on that. If it's partnering with startups, they will do that. If not, they won't have any incentive to do that. So find those people that are measured on corporate startups.
And when you talk to these startups, what are you looking for when you talk to them? Like, what are the aspects that you're trying to find out in order to know, yeah, this is a startup I want in my accelerator?
So this answer is obviously different from corporate to corporate and from between different innovation activities, which are searching for different stages of startups. In our case, we are looking for more mature companies, that the solution is already GA, it's out there, it's already in production. Large enterprise clients are already using that, so we want to see that you already have clients. And then, it doesn't have to be a unicorn, but we do expect to see at least few corporate clients. And then we know that it's the time to talk and maybe to formalize it into a formal partnership with SAP and take to the global client base.
And when you talk to Israeli startups, when now you just said that you are talking to international teams, do you see any difference in the way they are presenting themselves or the way they are looking for partnership, or how do they do business?
Yeah, I don't want to hurt anyone, but and compare. My portfolio includes all of them. But Israeli startups know how to sell really good. They know how to present. And in the case of Israeli startups, you do need to check good if the technology behind the sales presentation is really the same, because I saw some big gaps in my career between the presentation and the real technology. It's usually, this gap is much smaller if you're talking about startups from Europe or I don't know, from Asia. They're usually presenting what they can deliver. And sometimes, it's hurting them in a different way, because you need to run forward, you need to run quick, and in some cases, you need to present what is not fully developed, which is fine as an entrepreneur. Yeah, so that's my challenge.
Yeah, selling too well. they're too salesy in a sense, because I think it's very similar to Americans and Israelis, the way they see, because they're selling you a vision and not exactly what they have right now ready. And maybe Europeans are more humble. I wouldn't say more straight, but I would say more humble in a sense. When they present something, they want to be really sure that this is what they can really deliver tomorrow, not like in half a year or something.
But there are many advantages of working with Israeli entrepreneurs. They are much more willing to, to pivot the product a bit in order to form a partnership with the corporate like SAP. And they're much more open to do changes just for sell something together. So, very flexible. So that's a really huge advantage.
Yeah, flexibility is so important, especially if you're a small company or a startup, because if you will not be flexible, you might have the right answer from the beginning and you will be a unicorn within 2 years. And it doesn't happen that much, but you need to know how to be flexible. And in general, flexibility is something that we truly need right now, because we're living in this uncertain time and nobody knows anything. I don't know anything. Maybe you do, but I don't know anything.
We know something.
Yeah. So what is your number one tip for innovation leaders within corporates, inside a company?
Yeah. So based on my experience, the number one tip will be on the startup side. For many years that I did the same thing that I'm doing now, I was on the corporate side. I looked at from the point of view of the company that hired me. We want to do X, and this is what I want to do with the startups I'm partnering with. Now I'm working completely different. I'm putting myself on the side of the startups. I'm working for the startups, with the startups, and my goal is to have them successful. And I found out that eventually, by doing that, the corporate that I'm working for will be successful too. You need to understand the challenges of the startups, because when you are asking something, it should be reasonable. You need to understand, the average entrepreneurs, they are facing so many challenges. And on the corporate side, everything is convenient. We have our salary every month, we have our car in the office, and it's very nice. But you need to remember what's happening to those startups that you are asking them to partner with you, because that's your KPIs, so we want that too. But you need to look at that from their point of view. Otherwise, it usually will not work.
Yeah. I think that in general, if managers and leaders from big corporates could really understand the way that an entrepreneur is thinking and doing his daily activities, it could help them understand things differently. I wouldn't say they need to go and open a startup, but to understand that it's not like, if you will succeed, it will be very big. And if not, you might lose your house. Like, it's that big for them.
Yeah.
And when you're delivering something which is so substantial to your life, you cannot just do it like, halfway, 5%. Maybe I'll do it in the weekend. You need to be all in. And when you're doing something all in, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So
and the challenge is to communicate it to the people inside the organization. Obviously, I'm Lior, I'm doing innovation for SAP, but SAP is a big company. I need to communicate with so many people within SAP to promote one startup, and I keep, very important to keep them in the same point of view of doing things for the startup. Eventually, the corporate will benefit as well.
And for the startup, you're just their main client, or they're saying, okay, you're one of our clients, we have many of them, so how much should we invest in this big partnership or not? It's another thing they might consider, I guess.
Yeah, so that's a good question. In the specific example of SAP, we are not their client. We are go-to-market channel. We are partnering together to go to SAP clients. So it's a big opportunity for them to not to have one more client, but to have, potentially hundreds of clients.
And what are you doing? Like, how do your sales team know how to sell these new products and services that these startups are offering? So it's an art to know how to sell, I guess.
So
Yeah.
first of all, this is one of the most important things that we are responsible to do. So I mentioned it between the lines. Before we are scouting for startups, we are looking for white spaces that needs coming from our clients that we cannot answer as SAP. And we are creating partnerships with startups in order to create new joint offerings that will now answer those needs. But that's not enough. We need to go to the market. So we need to build the sales materials of this joint solution. We need to do a PR around that. We need to communicate, to sell internally to the salespeople. It's a lot of work, but this is what we do. That's definitely a core mission of the SAP team.
Yeah, especially when these sales people, they have bigger offering. Maybe they get percentage from a bigger product they might sell, and maybe this is a small business for them. It's not a big proposal that they are sending. So just to make them involved and really sell it as well as they can, it's a challenge, I guess. It's not easy.
Yeah, but this is also part of what we need to do. It's not all about the money. Okay, first of all, every partnership that we build, we also create the commercialization mechanism for that. So SAP salespeople will be compensated if they will sell the joint solution with the startup. But that's important, but that's not all, because it's not all for the money. If SAP clients, big organization, bought SAP, you can only imagine it's systems that cost millions, and you need to maintain the licenses every year. It's a lot of money, and you cannot sell a deal, a system that big, and now wait another 5 years to sell the next big system. You need to keep show your clients that this system will always be updated with the latest functionalities they want to get from that system. And those small functionalities we are bringing to the market together with startups. So it's not always how much revenue we will bring to SAP, but the fact that we are bringing our clients what they need. Okay?
It's sustaining the connections with your clients and giving them what, like, we're there for you, and we're answering your needs. So we're listening and we're answering your needs. So we're a good partner from now on, not only because we sold you something 1 year ago or something like that, or 5 years ago.
Exactly, because if SAP will not bring answer to those updating needs with the help of startups, the competition will bring it. So we always need to bring answer to those needs, whether they are very small and bring small revenue, or whether they are very big.
Yeah, it really makes sense to me. So I understand what you're saying. So I really want to thank you for your time. It's gone so fast. It looks like we just started to talk. And where could people hear more from you and contact you?
So first of all, I keep sharing everything that we do here at SAP.io on my social profiles. It's really not a problem to find them. And every entrepreneur out there that is listening to this podcast and want to get some advice, with or without any connection to SAP, I would always love to help. So reach out and we can talk.
Yeah, that's great. So I would advise anyone. I talk to Lior. This is the second time I talk to him. It's always interesting and insightful. So I advise everyone that is thinking about that, just call Lior and maybe on LinkedIn. And this is what I would choose. But
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure, Lior, talking to you, and thanking you for coming talk to me.
Thank you, Adi.
Yeah. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining me. And I'll see you next week. You're much invited to hear the next time and the podcast, or maybe visit invincibleinnovation.com. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.